Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a fascinating exploration of something that literally shapes how we perceive global history. We're looking at how the documentation of global conflict has completely shifted paradigms over the last 80 years. Bottom line, if you want to understand how we view war, you've got to understand the lens through which it's filmed.
So who controls the story of war? It's a pretty profound concept to wrap your head around, right? Because the power to shape our understanding of geopolitical realities is, in a lot of ways, the ultimate weapon. Basically, whoever holds the camera and whoever edits that footage dictates our historical memory.
Okay, let's dive into this. We'll be tracing this narrative authority across 5 key eras. We'll start with shaping the state narrative, move on to compiling the global archive, then deconstructing the war machine, frontline citizen journalism, and finally, we'll look at forecasting future conflicts. To see how this all builds, let's trace the massive technological leaps over the last 80 years or so. In 1942, we have strict, state-directed messaging with Why We Fight. By 1973, we get the monumental reflection of the world at war. Then, the turn of the century brings us the chilling intimacy of the fog of war in 2003. And now, cutting to 2025, we're seeing raw, real-time trench combat in 2,000 meters to Andriivka. The technological and philosophical jumps here are just absolutely staggering.
All right, Section 1, Shaping the State Narrative. This is the era of top-down ideological media.
So, early war documentaries were very much top-down. They were highly ideological, totally state-sanctioned, and designed to build consensus while projecting absolute state power. Compare that to the modern era, which is incredibly bottom-up, observational, and citizen-led, focusing entirely on those ground-level, unedited truths.
The quintessential example of that early era is Frank Capra's classic series Why We Fight, produced right in the thick of it between 1942 and 1945. Commissioned directly by the U.S. Department of War, this really set the gold standard for state-sponsored conflict documentation. They took newsreel footage and layered it with highly dramatic narration to take the incredibly complex geopolitical nightmare of World War II and turn it into a super-simplified, mobilizable struggle of good versus evil. The state dictated exactly what the public saw.
But, as the need for immediate mobilization fades, we arrive at Section 2, Compiling the Global Archive. This is where we see a shift toward retrospective synthesis and memory. The World at War, released in 1973, brilliantly illustrates this shift. The sheer scale of this project was unheard of at the time. Producer Jeremy Isaacs and his team spent 4 years compiling 3 million feet of archive film. Think about that. They distilled that massive archive into 26 comprehensive episodes. But what really changed the game was how they did it. Instead of that dramatic, booming propaganda, they used emotionally controlled, deeply reflective interviews with ordinary veterans and major political figures alike, all grounded by the neutral, masterful narration of Sir Laurence Olivier. It actively prioritized the human experience over nationalist myth-making. Fast forward to today, and that appetite for monumental historical synthesis, it's stronger than ever. In 2026, we're seeing the global rollout of World War II with Tom Hanks. It's a massive 20-episode retelling, drawing on newly discovered archives and reaching an estimated 400 million households worldwide. To put that into perspective, it proves that as a society, we're constantly feeling the need to re-examine total war through the lens of a new century. We're always looking for new details to educate and astound us.
Moving on to Section 3, Deconstructing the War Machine. Here, we see a move toward intimacy, confession, and accountability.
To really understand how filmmakers achieve this intense new level of intimacy, look no further than the interrototron. Invented by director Errol Morris, this cinematic mechanism actually projects the interviewer's face directly over the camera lens. So why does that matter? Well, it forces the subject to make direct, sustained, unblinking eye contact with you, the audience. Morris completely revolutionized the documentary format here. He stripped away all the geopolitical abstraction and forced a direct, highly uncomfortable connection.
And the result of that device is captured perfectly in this chilling quote from his 2003 film, The Fog of War. Former U.S. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, looking right through the screen at the viewer, plainly states, "We killed 100,000 in one night." By using the interrotron, Morris transformed what could have been a super dry academic postmortem into an agonizing confession about how bureaucratic efficiency gets weaponized against human lives. It's a profound shift in narrative authority.
Now we step into Section 4, Frontline Citizen Journalism. This is all about visceral realism and the embedded lens.
Today, everyday tools are literally reshaping history. High-definition smartphones, military body cams, smuggled hard drives, all of these allowed journalists and ordinary citizens to just completely bypass official state blockades. For example, in the film 20 Days in Mariupol, journalists used a single, hidden internet connection tucked under a ruined grocery store to transmit irrefutable visual evidence of civilian targeting, evidence that directly contradicted state-level denials at the time. The power is now firmly in the hands of the people on the ground. This embedded perspective reaches its absolute apex in the 2025 documentary 2,000 Meters to Andriivka, directed by Mstislav Chernov. The film follows a Ukrainian platoon. But here's the kicker. The perspective isn't from some helicopter or a safe strategic command center. It's largely composed of body cam footage recorded by the troops themselves. It provides an emotionally devastating, literal ground-level perspective from the trenches. It's totally devoid of high-level strategic abstractions, showing you exactly what survival looks like under fire. Which leads us to our final section, Section 5, Forecasting Future Conflicts. This covers speculative media and geopolitical stakes.
Right now, we're seeing a massive spike in parallel global conflicts. In Sudan, the armed forces are fighting the Rapid Support Forces. Down in the Red Sea, Houthi forces are engaging international naval coalitions. Over in the Taiwan Strait, the geopolitical friction between Taiwan and China is seriously intensifying. Independent documentaries and investigative data mapping are acting as vital, essential tools to help us make sense of these incredibly dense, overlapping crises.
Because behind those regional names are devastating realities. 11,292. That is the number of recorded attacks in Sudan by early 2025 alone. Just staggering. This violence has triggered the displacement of nearly 12 million people, making it the largest displacement crisis in the entire world. Media representation is absolutely crucial here to prevent international indifference to such a massive humanitarian impact.
Or consider the economic ripple effects, 57.5%. That number represents the devastating drop in average daily cargo volume transiting the Suez Canal, entirely due to attacks in the Red Sea. Documentaries and media analysis are proving how localized asymmetric warfare, using things like drones and missiles, creates massive, tangible disruptions to global shipping and global inflation. It just proves how intimately connected the world really is.
And because of this deep interconnectedness, filmmakers are now using documentary and docudrama techniques preemptively. The 2025 Taiwanese series Zero Day Attack is a perfect example of this. It's a speculative series depicting a worst-case scenario of a Chinese naval blockade. But it isn't just entertainment. It actively functions as cognitive armor for civilian populations. It uses the visual language of documentary to educate the public on cyber warfare and build societal resilience before a conflict even erupts.
So the crucial point is summarized perfectly by Tom Hanks. The best petri dish for tyranny is indifference, and we have a choice every single day to do something or not, based on what we think is right. These visual records, whether we're talking about a dusty World War II archive or a shaky body cam in a trench, they demand our active attention. They aren't just passive records, they are active pleas against apathy.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to chew on. How is the media you consume shaping your understanding of the world's next great conflict? Who is holding the camera in the news you watch? I want you to critically evaluate the narrative authority behind the screens you view every single day, because as we've seen throughout this explainer, whoever controls the narrative shapes the world. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep asking those hard questions and keep learning.